Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to rebuild a new ignition lock cylinder so that you can use your old key in a new cylinder. And we're going to show you that on this 2003 Chevy Monte Carlo.
You'll need an ignition lock cylinder rebuild kit from 1AAuto, and we do sell these kits. They actually come with new keys, and if you don't want to do the whole process, you can obviously just use your existing key for the doors and the new key for the lock cylinder. But in this video, we show you how to rekey the lock cylinder so you can use your old key for both, and then you'll need the various other tools.
Start off by disconnecting your negative battery cable. You just use an 8mm socket and ratchet and remove it. Underneath your steering wheel, you'll see this panel. You want to just push in these two tabs and pull it down, then twist this socket free and pull the bulb out. And then you want to remove these two 7mm screws.
Pull out your fuse panel door, and especially make sure that the lower clip comes out, and then pull basically straight back on the lower panel on both sides, and then use a small flat blade screwdriver to help you release the clip on the harness and remove the harness.
Inside here, there's a T25 screw. Just go ahead and remove that. And then pry out on this lever, and it just pulls free. And then you can pull the panel straight down, and then unhook it and pull it forward. Next, you want to remove these two E5 external Torx bolts. There's one right here, and then one right here on the other side. And we'll just fast forward as Mike removes those. Once those are removed, you can pull this upper panel up and off. Now pull this panel off the rest of the way and remove this 7mm bolt right here. Pull down your glove box and then remove the 7mm bolt right up here. Pry off this bezel. And then pull out on either side of the dash panel. And you want to just feel for the clips back behind it and pull out. And once you get it free, just pull it forward.
Use a flat blade screwdriver to disconnect the hazard switch, and be careful while doing this because you can break the bezel fairly easily.
And now put your keys in the ignition and turn it to the on position and pull your shifter back all the way, and then lift your dash panel up and out. Next, you want to remove a series of bolts that hold on this panel. You can see there's 3 7mm on this side and 1 7mm bolt over here. And then back behind this plate, you can see there's 10mm bolts up there, slightly gold color. And you're going to want to remove those and the ones behind them as well. get these ones, you can go up through here, and to get the one back behind it, you can just go on the other side of the plate, reaching up from underneath, and get them that way. And we'll fast forward as Mike removes those. Next, remove these two 10mm bolts that hold in your ignition switch. Now pull your ignition switch down through the hole where the plate was. And then put your key in the ignition and turn it to the on position. Then push in on this tab and pull that free. And then push in on this tab and pull your lock cylinder free.
Okay, you want to move the switch so this tab is lined up with that slot. And press in here and push, and it comes out. And then be careful. You want to put a finger on this tumbler here just in case it's worn out. Make sure that the tumblers don't pop out. Carefully
Now pry this rectangular top part off.
And you can see the springs are going to come out. That's not a big deal. It comes with new springs.
And then remove the springs. And now your tumblers are in these slots. Tape up all of them except the very first slot. Tap the cylinder upside down on the table a couple times just to bring that tumbler higher up, and then pry it out with a pick. And on this paper that's supplied, you want to just put it into place on the first slot, pull back the tape, and then repeat the same process with the next slot. And we'll fast forward as Mike completes this process.
And you may find sometimes putting the key into the lock cylinder helps to push the tumblers out. It's just very important that you keep them in the correct order. So use that paper and to help you do that.
Take the first tumbler and just look at it, and it's hard to see in that shot, but there's actually a number on it, and you want to just mark that number in the square that corresponds with that tumbler, and then just repeat the process with the next one. Take your new cylinder and just slide it out. Pry off this rectangular panel that holds your tumblers and springs in. And then remove each of those springs and each of the tumblers. Now take your bags of tumblers, and you can see that our first tumbler is going to be a number 2. So we would take a new tumbler number 2 from the bag labeled 2 and just feed it into that first slot. And just use a flat plate screwdriver to just push it down the rest of the way and make sure it's in all the way. And then our next one would be 4. So you can see Mike takes a 4, just slides that into the next slot. And you just want to repeat this process all the way down. And you can use some pliers to help just feed them in if you'd like. It's not required, but it does help. And then put one spring into each slot.
And now we're going to install that locking panel, and it's important to do this correctly. I found on ours one side went in fairly easily just with finger pressure. You want to try and do it evenly. I did end up using a screwdriver to help push down. If you use the screwdriver, make sure you're pressing right over the tab that goes down in, so you don't risk bending that metal panel at all. If you bend it, you can cause the lock cylinder not to work correctly. Here I'm using a hammer to tap it, and again, just right on the end, making sure I don't bend it. And then put the key in and make sure that your lock tab goes down and it's keyed correctly.
Then take this part that goes on the back here and just push it into place. And then slide it back into the housing. And you will need the key to do this. Now you want to turn the inside, so you just push in the piston on the inside and then turn it, and you want it to match up with your ignition switch. Now push the harness into place and then insert your key into the ignition and just turn it until that moves, and then just push it back into place. Insert this harness. Now you can turn your key off and remove it, and then reconnect these two harnesses. Now reconnect your negative battery cable and just tighten it up.
After connecting the battery, try your cylinder and switch, and you may find that the car starts right up. If your car does start right up, you can just skip to about 14 minutes and 14 seconds in the video. If your car doesn't start, you'll need to reset the security, and over the next couple minutes of the video, that's what we show you to do.
On a lot of these cars, when you replace the ignition lock cylinder, you will have to reset the security. So when you try to start the car, you'll realize it doesn't work, and on your message center here, you'll see a blinking security light right there. And what you want to do is just wait until that light goes off. Leave the car in the on position until that light goes off, and it can take about 10 minutes. And then when the light goes off, turn the key off and wait 6 seconds. Then turn the key on and attempt to start the car once. Let off, and then that security light will come back on and start blinking again. You want to repeat the entire process, waiting until it goes off again, and just keep doing this. It does take about 30 minutes, so you may need to jump start your car, but after you've done it 3 times, when you go to start your car, it starts up. Now just feed your ignition switch back up into place. And once you've got it in place, replace those two 10mm bolts. Replace this panel and the 10 and 7mm bolts that hold it in place. To reinstall the dash panel, open up your glove box, turn the key to the on position and pull the shifter all the way back. Pull your steering wheel down, and then tuck the dash panel back behind the steering wheel. Now reconnect your harness. Then you can slide your shifter forward and remove the key. And then push the dash panel back in the rest of the way. And then just push in the clips all the way around it. And we'll fast forward as Mike replaces those two 7mm bolts and tightens them up. And just push this bezel back into place. Tilt the steering wheel back down, and then feed this upper panel back into place, and push it back down. And replace those two E5 inverted Torx bolts. Now feed in the lower panel. And you want to push the back behind and reclip those two hooks. And then swing up the front and push it into place. And then just replace that T25 Torx screw. Reconnect the harness to your switch, and then line up the panel and push it back into place. And then replace the two 7mm bolts at the bottom of the panel. Push the bulb back into the socket and twist it back into this panel, and then feed the panel back, and then just push it back up into place. Push your tilt lever back into place, and then take your fuse panel and line up those tabs and just hit them back into place. And you're all set.
We hope this video helps you out. Brought to you by oneaauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.